Good evening, everybody. This is Daniel King with the latest Hangouts, this monthly Hangout. Welcome, everyone. I hope that you can see me okay, that everything's working. So if you're out there, let me know you're out there. I can see your chat here. So do let me know everything's functioning. So let me just check in with that. Everything working? Ah, yeah, now I see the people arriving. Okay, so let me just move. I'm surrounded, as usual, by lots of cables and whatever. That's my own fault. Being a very badly organized desk. I can see lots of people already. That's brilliant. Hi, Ravi Parami in California. Hello to, well, people from all over the place. Vandan Shah, Rock Shard, and many, many more. So fantastic to see everyone here. So here we go. I'm going to start up. So what I'm going to do, let me explain what's happening. If you've got any questions, just general questions about chess, then please do ask. Here we go. As usual, we've got people tuning in from all over the world. Hi from Belgium. Greetings from Argentina. Hi, Joaquin Campos. And greetings from Russia and from Algeria, Uruguay, Netherlands, Copenhagen. Fantastic. Okay, well, it's great to see everyone. So let me just explain what's happening. I'm going to, you can ask any questions you like, hopefully about chess. That'll be good. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a few puzzles and a few games as well. And so what I'm going to do straight away before we get into anything, I'm going to show you the position that I set in my little advertising video, you could say. So before I take any questions, I'm going to show you this position. So just bear with me. Hopefully everything will work. There we are. Now you should see this position. Hopefully you can see this. Just let me know everything's working okay. Is that working? Can you see this position? Hopefully you can see that. Let me just resize the windows. That's better. We can see it. Okay, that's good. Fantastic. So I'm not going to take any questions for the time being. Let's look at some chess first. So this is the position that I set on the video. And my question was, what should white play and why? Hello, Pierre from Paris. Hello, lots of other people from all over the world. From Mexico, special greetings to people from Mexico. From Quebec in Canada. I've been to Quebec. Fantastic. I love Quebec. So my question, what should white play and why? We've had one guess, which was bishop g5. Well, let me tell you, if you guess, then you might not do very well in this position. It's really necessary to calculate. But do your best. What should white play and why? I should say that in the game, white got it very badly wrong, and I'm afraid lost very quickly. We've got suggestion of bishop g5, bishop h6. Not Navonom says take the bishop. Don't know why. Well, I'll start with that if you like. If you take the bishop, I would say that black is simply the exchange up and will win this position very, very quickly. So no, not taking the bishop, I'm afraid. We've got a suggestion of king h1. King h1. Well, if king h1, then I think I might just go f2, and then on the next turn, it's a girl. So that's not a good move. We've got bishop d2, bishop e3, bishop h6. We've got a couple of bishop e3s. Let me just deal with bishop h6 first. Unfortunately, I don't think this is a good move because I'm going to play f2 check. Now the king has to block. And then if I'm not mistaken, I think that wins straight away. Bishop g3 wins because there's simply no defense to rook e1 and checkmate in a couple of moves. And that is that. So I'm afraid bishop h6 is not a good move. I should say, for the same reason, bishop g5 is not a very good move. Again, check, and this looks like it's winning to me. So no, not best at all. Interesting suggestion of king f2, blocking that pawn. But what happens if I just do something like this and then drop the bishop back somewhere? Maybe this move? Maybe this move? I mean, this looks very dangerous, suddenly threatening to really have a go at white's king. If rook d2, then of course that looks very uncomfortable with pressure here, followed by rook here. I think black is doing very well in that position. That would be my feeling. So king f2 doesn't cut the mustard. A couple of people suggesting king f2. Gabe says, greetings from Los Angeles. Hi, Gabe. Thanks everyone for joining me. So we got lots of suggestions. We have rook d1 suggested. I think rook d1 probably lands in the same trouble. Yeah, it does. And then no defense to rook here. Let me say that in the game, bishop d2 was played, and I'm afraid that also lost to this. But it doesn't matter that e1 is covered, because when the rook is taken, of course, it opens up the f file check, so it'll be a double check. So black wins. That was the end of the game. But for those of you that suggest bishop e3, congratulations. That is the move that saves white. Because first of all, it prevents f2 check. That's the main thing. But the big question is, what happens on bishop c3? It's not over yet. Not quite over. What can you play here? What does white play now? Black has just played bishop takes pawn. So it's still not so simple. What's going to do now? White play. All those who suggested bishop e3, I need a response. What you going to do about it? What's the big idea? What can white do? It's all gone very quiet. Got a suggestion of bishop d4. Well, bishop d4. I could just exchange. And black is a pawn up in this position. Maybe rook here. This looks very nasty. Takes, and black's rooks look so active. So I think probably not bishop d4. Bishop c5 has been suggested. Yeah, this is a good move. Bishop c5 is a good move because the bishop maintains protection of f2, but also looks at the rook. And now the bishop is threatened. So let's say bishop takes pawn. Now what? Now what does white play? It's not quite as simple as one would like. What you going to play now, as we say? What's the move? Rook b1 suggested. Yes, well done. Rook b1, very simply. And after that, I think white is actually fine. I mean, rook here is well, a little bit tricky, but I think white can get away with this. Shouldn't be too much bother there. Maybe rook d3. Yeah, rook d3 looks pretty good, I think. So bishop e3 is the move, and I think it should be about equal. So after takes, bishop c5, bishop b2, rook b1. And now, for example, if f2 check, if that's taken, and then we move the bishop away somewhere, or maybe a rook here. Bishop takes, and it looks to me as though the game is petering out to a draw. So there we go. Let me just come back to reality now. So back again. So greetings, everyone. So that's our first little puzzle, and you've negotiated that very well. Oh, Gabe, sorry, I'm a bit slow seeing your comment. Paul Brightness says, hello, Dan. This is Pierre from Paris. Hello, Pierre in Paris. Can you please let us know what's your opinion regarding Wesley So? Wesley So's 2016 improvement. Isn't he Magnus's next challenger for the World Championship? Okay, well, let me deal with that one first. I actually want to look at a couple of Wesley So's games, or show you a couple of puzzles from Wesley So, or finishing positions a little bit later on. But yeah, I'm very impressed with Wesley. But I think what's interesting about this tournament in London at the moment is that this tournament is really the best of the rest. So although Wesley at the moment has his nose just slightly out in front, and Wesley has had very good results over this last half of the year, you know, any of these players could potentially be a challenger for Magnus Carlsen. So, for example, Fabiano Caruana playing superbly, absolutely superbly. We have Vladimir Kramnik. One shouldn't write him off. You know, I've been incredibly impressed by his play in this tournament so far. You know, the way he held Hikaru Nakamura in the previous game was quite extraordinary. And he really does seem to have found a new lease of life over the past 6 months or so. Or not just past 6 months. I mean, Kramnik is such a strong player. His result in the Olympiad, I think he made, did he make 8.5 out of 10 at the Olympiad? Something incredible. Huge score. I mean, he's on tremendous form. So many of these players could possibly qualify for the next World Championship match. And I think we have a very interesting situation now that it's been and gone. So Wesley is out in front at the moment, but any of these players could do it. But Wesley works incredibly hard. He's a clean living lad. And Wesley's a really nice guy. He's a very natural guy. You know, he's very likable. He's not a prima donna in any way. I hope that doesn't change. I don't think it will. He's simply a very pleasant guy. So, you know, I like Wesley very much on a personal level, you know, and he's playing extremely well. He works hard. Right, let me take another question. Vapol says, is it better to play system openings or main lines for 2000 rated club players? Oh, wow. I think it's what you're most comfortable with. I think the problem with if you play main lines, it involves a lot of work. But there's a reason they're main lines, because often they're the most sound choices or the most principled choices. So a mainline Spanish, well, you can't fault that with white, because it's been shown over the last 500 years of this opening that these are the strongest, most challenging moves that white can play. If you play a system, the problem is that your opponent might get to know it, and they can be half best. So, you know, like a collar system or a Tsukatort or a Trompovsky. But these are not bad openings. So it's really up to you, and perhaps you have to be pragmatic. Perhaps you don't have that much time to study openings, in which case a system opening like the collar or Trompovsky or like E4 with very kind of modest aims, that might be best for you. So I think you have to be pragmatic and just see how much time you have. It's really up to you. Heras Nabil asks, how to explain, Daniel, the use of Carlsen, the boring Trompovsky and collar system in the World Championship? Okay, that's a related question, of course. So why did Magnus play, well, this is very subjective, the boring Trompovsky and collar system. If you've ever seen Julian Hodgson, who's an English Grandmaster colleague of mine, if you've ever seen him play the Trompovsky with white, you'll recognize this is not a boring opening in any way. And the kind of endgame advantage that Magnus actually achieved with the Trompovsky in game 1 of the World Championship match was just what he wanted. Now, he didn't manage to press game 1 very hard, but he certainly had chances. Trompovsky isn't boring, but you could say it's not the most challenging for black to meet. And the same with the collar as well. So why did Magnus use these openings? Well, what he was trying to do was avoid all this much vaunted Russian opening preparation. So he wasn't going to play mainline systems. I think very sensibly, he avoided these main lines that Karyakin presumably had prepared extremely well, and just said to Karyakin, okay, I want to play chess. I want to get a normal position on the board, and we just play chess, and we can forget all the computer analysis. So you might say that's boring, but it allowed Magnus to employ his legendary endgame technique. If he had won games 3 and 4, where he got very favorable endgames, then this might have been a very, very different match. Karyakin would have been forced to come out earlier and fight. But your comment that these openings are boring, well, perhaps you're referring to the endgames that arose from these openings, and that's a very subjective opinion. Personally, I don't find endgames boring. Right, next question. Let me just come back. Riaz Ali has a comment. He says, oh my God, your mug is huge. It is huge. There you go. And I'm advertising something dreadful, a terrible company called Sports Direct, who I'm afraid don't treat their workers very well at all. But there you go. That's my huge mug. And my huge mug here. Dennis Duyar asks, I'll ask the kids' question to the players at the World Championship press conference. What's your favorite move against E4? Well, I love playing the Sicilian with black, and particularly the Najdorf variation. A few years ago, I wrote a book on the Najdorf quite a few years ago that I really enjoyed researching, and not so long ago I produced a DVD for Chessbase on the Najdorf, which again I loved doing, love researching and analysing, and I love the Najdorf variation of the Sicilian because it's such a fantastic counter-attacking opening, but you do so from a very sound basis, from a sound pawn structure. Tim Worrell, greetings to you, asks, compare the London Chess Classic this year to last. So many dull Berlins and now so many exciting games. Why is this? Yeah, I mean, I agree. This year's London Chess Classic, I think, is a lot more interesting than last year's. I think it's partly luck, and it's partly that the fashion has changed in openings. What do I mean by partly luck? Well, sometimes a kind of mood takes place, or a spirit takes place or occurs in a tournament right at the start, where it's kind of accepted that people will really go for each other. And I think we were very lucky to see in the first two rounds that we had really bloodthirsty games where there was lots of thud and blunder. And that sets the tone for the tournament. Whereas last year, it started with lots of draws in the opening rounds. And then in the final two rounds, it caught fire again. But I think that the tone was set last year with lots of draws, and that was rather unfortunate. So I agree. It could have been more interesting. But this year, it's just a tremendous tournament. And I know people seem to sort of, lots of rather reactionary people online seem to have a problem with draws, but even the draws here have been, I found them very, very interesting. It's a really good fighting chess. Gabe Romo says English tea. Well, it's tea, and it's from India. Indian tea, but yeah, typical English tea, you're right. Let me see. Not Navonum says I've been very impressed with Naka's play after his initial birthday fiasco. Do I agree with that? Yeah, he's played pretty well. I thought he did very well to press Kramnik in the last game. Actually, I thought that Kramnik was going to equalize pretty easily, but Naka found a way to increase the pressure, and yeah, he almost got there. Trond Arne Aulsdal, hello from Norway, Danny. Hello, Trond Arne. Fabiano Biancalana asks, do you think Carlsen uses a specially designed supercomputer for preparation? I don't know about a specially designed supercomputer. I mean, I think he'll be using a very a computer with very strong processing power to check certain variations. Let me see. We got lots of questions, but before I take any more questions, so hang back with the questions for the moment, and I'm going to show you another position because I felt that last time I didn't. I kind of forgot to look at some chess, if you see what I mean. So this time I'm going to look at a little bit more chess. So let me throw you, throw you a position by Wesley So. Actually, he's the man under discussion at the moment, and the man who is just out ahead in the London Chess Classic after 5 rounds, 3.5 out of 5. He's leading. So just bear with me a moment while I just switch windows, and I put this position on the board. And here is your next position. This is a position from the Leuven Rapid Play tournament between Fabiano Caruana with the white pieces and Wesley So playing black. And you can see that Wesley has managed to get 2 queens on the board. And of course, this is a completely winning position for black. But how did black finish things off quickly? So black to play and win very, very quickly. I mean, black has an overwhelming material advantage, but you know, it's good to try and finish things off quickly. So black to play, Wesley So to play. How are you going to finish things off? While you're thinking about that, I can see Douglas Squirrel says, how's Patreon working out for you, Mr. King? Is it supporting the channel sufficiently? I'm proud to be a patron. Well, thank you very much, Douglas Squirrel. We've got lots more. I'll come on to that in a second. And we have Ravi Parimi, Dr. Z, Frank von Tellingen, we have Harris Nabil, we have Kostas Pramatias, we have Jinzo, we have Ivo Lana Lind, who've all suggested Queen G2. Congratulations. Very simple move. I haven't given you the most testing position to consider, and I'm not even going to check your analysis. Rook D2, check, forces checkmate, because after King H3, we have a very visual checkmate coming up. Here we go. Queen F5, checkmate. Very, very simple. So now, having solved that, well done, guys. I will now come back to the screen and you can see my ugly mug. Once again, that's my ugly mug, and that's also my ugly mug. Francisco, thank you very much for your comment. Let me just pick up on some of the questions that came earlier. Douglas Squirrel asks, how is Patreon working out? Thank you very much for everyone who supports me on Patreon. These Hangouts are only possible because of the support of people contributing to the Power Play Chess channel on Patreon. There are two of us that run this channel, and well, frankly, it's not easy to make it pay, to make it worth our while. We basically cover our expenses and not a lot more, not at all. We would like to make it at some point profitable, but it's not easy. So I would appeal to anyone, if you enjoy these Hangouts and you would like to contribute to us on patreon.com. I'll just put that in here. So Patreon, wait a second while I just put this into the chat. Patreon.com and Power Play Chess. That's where you got to head for. We would really appreciate it, because I'm being very frank here. It is a struggle for us to make this pay, but it's fun. You know, I enjoy it, and it's fantastic making contact with people. And you know, as we can see tonight, you know, we've got loads of people watching live. So, like I said, I really do appreciate everyone that contributes, and hopefully we can build it up in a, you know, kind of crowdfunding exercise, and that's how you do it. Let me see. Let me answer some of your questions. Let me just go back because I missed out on some of the questions earlier. 1 second. Jesse James asks, B30, this is a very technical question. B33 seems totally out of fashion nowadays. Nakamura and Gelfand played it some years ago, but then it disappeared. Any particular reasons? Right, Jesse James is referring to the Sveshnikov variation, which is very, very sharp. I suspect that the problem with the Sveshnikov is that you can lose very, very easily just because your opponent, you know, has employed some computer analysis, and it's simply too risky. But the Sveshnikov at lower levels were it's not so professional, the analysis, still lives on, and it's a fun opening. And it's never been refuted. Gelfand employed it against Anand. I suspect one of the problems also with the Sveshnikov is that people don't like 3 bishop b5. So e4. Well, I'll create a new board. Just 1 second. Just one moment while I just get a new board up. I'm just going to switch to the board any second. Just bear with me while I sort out the technology. So here we go. So the question was, why isn't the Sveshnikov variation employed too often at top level? So here's the Sveshnikov variation. Let me just sort out the window. Hopefully you can see this okay. Right, so knight f6, knight c3, Sveshnikov. I used to play Sveshnikov when I was a kid. Great fun. And this was, in Russia, they call it the Chelyabinsk variation, because there are a group of players centered around the city of Chelyabinsk, which is somewhere in Siberia. For instance, players like, Yevgeny Sveshnikov and Timoshenko and others, who started studying this opening, and they really found some fantastic ideas in this opening. So this is the Sveshnikov. I was saying it's very, very complex, and one can lose very quickly if you don't know what you're doing. But coming back to this point, I suspect a lot of top players actually don't like to be on the end of bishop b5. This is a very, very irritating move to meet. I've always loved playing this opening with white. Now, if you remember in the Anand Gelfand match, e6 was discussed quite thoroughly. But there are ways for white to play this to create interesting winning chances. I mean, Magnus Carlsen loves playing with bishop b5, and many others do as well. So I think that's the reason or one of the reasons why this Sveshnikov isn't played so often. I hope that answered your question, Jesse James. Right, let me just come down and take some more questions. Apologies, I'm scrolling down, so it's hard to pick up on everything. Okay, we've got another question about Apurv Chandorkar. Hi, Daniel. Can you please explain at the highest level why black completely ignores variations like the Sicilian dragon? Of course, we know Najdorf is very good. Well, the dragon has a similar problem to the Sveshnikov, that it's just deemed not solid enough, and with computer analysis could well be refuted. But at the slightly lower levels from elite chess, the dragon still lives on. So players like the English grandmaster Gawain Jones, who's, I can't remember what his rating is, I think it's about 2660 at the moment, maybe a bit more. Apologies to him if I got that wrong. Gawain Jones regularly employs the dragon, but that is at the level rather below this elite level, and I think there you can get away with it because preparation isn't as thorough. And Luke McShane, another English grandmaster, also employs the dragon from time to time, but it is risky, and because there are lots of forcing variations, and you can end up with rather a dubious position if you're not careful. So, for example, just recently in this British knockout championship, David Howell, who similar age to Gawain Jones and similar rating, outplayed Gawain with the white side because he prepared a very nice variation, and black was just left with a difficult position. So that's why the dragon and the Sveshnikov for that matter aren't employed, because there are certain forcing variations that can leave you with a dubious position. So let me see. More questions. Oh yeah, there was a question about books, which books I recommend, and somebody's saying, Douglas Squirrel says, I really like my 50 memorable games by Fisher. Combines great analysis with opinionated stories. Yeah, 60 memorable games, of course. Hang on, do I have it in my bookcase? Yeah, here we go. There we go. My 60 Memorable Games by Bobby Fischer. Great book. And what I like about it is that it's, compared with a lot of books nowadays, the analysis isn't too heavy. It's actually a lot of description of positions, which is very nice. Let me see. My name is Dads, says, general thoughts on the French. Well, I like the French very much. Good opening, good solid opening. I'm a big fan of solid pawn structures. So, for example, I'm just going to switch boards again. Wait 1 second. Switch screens. Just one moment. So if we have a look here. Okay, so the basic French pawn structure. This is very pleasant for black because it's just hard to break through, and you use that as the kind of spine of your position that you play around, and it enables you to put pressure on the pawn on d4 and generally on the queen side. And just thinking about another variation, I like the classical variation. I always think that the Winnower or the Winnawer, as wie man auf Deutsch sagt, the Winnawer or the Winnower variation, I think this is actually risky for black because you give up this dark square bishop. But I know this is an opinion. It's difficult to prove that. Fischer said he always felt the Winnower was anti-positional and weakens the king side. That's a quote from my 60 Memorable Games. But the variation I like playing with black is the classical. Once again, you invite white to play with this pawn structure and then you hit out. And I simply like the counterplay that black gets in these positions. And you castle kingside, white very often, although it's not forced, but white very often castles queenside, and black exchanges here and advances the b pawn and gets counterplay. That's good fun to play. So I'm a fan of the French. In some ways, there are great similarities with the Sicilian in these variations because there's counterplay on the semi-open c file. So I think, structurally, it's always made a lot of sense to me. So back we come. Let me take another question. Let me see. Ken W asks, what's the chess software I'm using? Sometimes I just use Fritz. Sometimes I use Houdini. Sometimes Komodo. Because when you go online with ChessBase, you have access to these other machines. Frankly, if you're not a professional, it doesn't matter which of these engines you use. It really doesn't matter one jot. Simple as that. Mehmet Ali Kuseri asks, would I consider making an update of my Najdorf DVD? Well, possibly. Yeah, I might well do that. I'll think about it. Raw Vegan Carbs Loader, great handle. Raw Vegan Carbs Loader asks, should you play both the Sicilian and the French defense? It depends if you want a social life, basically. That's what I always did, but I was a professional, so. Engine Kid 88 asks, why are there so many cheats playing online chess? Why isn't Play Chess or other sites doing more to stop it? I don't know. I have no idea why people want to do that. There's nothing at stake. Can't say that. Kostas Pramatias asks, any recommendation for a good database? Yeah, Chessbase, Mega Database is the best one. It's as simple as that. Chessbase, Megabase. David Ridinger asks, where did I learn to speak German so well? I played in the German Bundesliga, and I thought it would be a good idea to learn some German, so I did. Simple as that. Thomas Lenzmeyer asks, Daniel, earlier you said the best way to improve is to play and solve problems. Yep. You don't have many over-the-board opportunities, so what types of games do I suggest on the internet? Not Blitz. Blitz will not help you. I would suggest playing maybe, well, fastest, maybe 20-minute games online, and that can give you some practice. But I do not recommend playing Blitz. That's definite. Let me see. Nick Gatrell asks, Daniel, do you have Dvoretsky's Endgame manual? Actually, Nick, I do not have Dvoretsky's Endgame manual. I have other books by him, which also feature endgames, but I don't have that particular one. But I would say, by the way, Dvoretsky's Endgame manual, which I've seen, and as I said, I have other books by Dvoretsky that tackle the endgame. I would not recommend that book for anyone under the level of 2200. It is far too complex. It is completely unnecessary. Anyway, I mean, the books, endgame books I would recommend, Jeremy Silman's Endgame course is excellent. And I would also recommend my DVDs on the endgame, on pawn endgames and rook and pawn endgames. That would set you up far better and gives you a sound basis from which to proceed. But Dvoretsky's Endgame manual is too much. Sam Wampa asks, do I ever analyze any of my own wins against GMs on this channel? No, I don't. I don't analyze my own games on the Power Play Chess channel. I prefer to look at other people's. There you are. One day I might, but I don't know, it feels like it's boasting or something. I prefer to look at other people's games. Let me see. I'm going to show you some more chess because I've taken a lot of questions. So let me give you something pretty simple. Again, I'm going to give you another game by Wesley So, and this is very funny. Actually, this is a really funny one. This is from a Blitz game, so one shouldn't take it too seriously. Blitz game played in Paris earlier in the year. Wesley So against Vladimir Kramnik, and Vlad makes a terrible mistake. So, I mean, it's a bit unfair me showing this game, but it is a Blitz game. So here we go. In this position, Vlad had the black pieces and was clearly trying to press for a win because his king was in such a beautiful position. But he played this move. So my question is, what did White play after this move f5? Wesley to play. What did Wesley play in this position? And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to just retrieve a book. Just a second, folks. Yeah, half the world has got it. Knight c5, of course. I mean, it's a comical finish, or tragic finish, tragicomic, I should say. Knight c5, and there's no defense to one of these for g4, and the knight even covers the g5 square. I mean, it's a very sad finish. Poor old Vlad. These things happen. Let me give you one more game while we're at it. This was played in the Bundesliga. Oh no, this is a Simmel match. I haven't got to the bottom of this. Wait a second. Sorry, I'm just going to come out again. Whoops. Okay, I think we're back again. Oh yeah, some people saying they saw this live. So wait a second, I'm just going to show you another game. Here's a funny one. Just bear with me while I switch boards. So this was played in, well, it says here a Simmel match between David Navarra and Sergei Movsisyan. Hopefully you can see that board. And, well, white is winning very, very easily. Just a second. Hopefully you can see this. Yeah, I think you can see. Oh, no, hang on. I've managed to lose it now. That was clever. Sorry, folks. I've managed to lose the board. What have I done? Let me try and get that back. My incompetence, I'm afraid. Just a second. Hang on a moment. Just a second, folks. I'll just get this back. Here we go. So white is winning very, very easily. You can see that white is actually a piece up. When I showed this to some other people, they suggested this move, which is a very cruel move indeed, which completely shuts in the rook. And then you're going to be able to take one of these pawns. And obviously white is completely winning. But what's the most efficient way to finish this one off? Bishop b8 is a very nice move, actually. While you're thinking about that, Electronite 1337 says, should one play blindfold chess? Is it useful training? It is. Very useful training, because calculation at the chessboard is such a necessary skill, and if you play blindfold chess, then it certainly helps with your calculation. So I would recommend it. Lots of people are suggesting rook d6 check. Yeah, rook d6 check is very good. It's not actually a forced checkmate, because in fact black's king can stagger out here, and well, I mean white is just winning very, very easily. But let's see what happens if king c4. And again, there are many ways to win this position, but what is the simplest for white to play and win here? Polakar 1 suggests bishop e1. Yeah, lots of ways to win, but bishop e1 is the most efficient, and it's mate next move. Threat b3, and even if black tries to prevent this with b8, then knight e5 is mate. Good stuff. Okay, let me come back again. I'll show you some more chess in a second, but return to this. We had lots of questions. Riaz Ali suggests tip up the board, storm out of the room, and go to the pub. You win every time, guaranteed. Riaz Ali, that's a good point and well made. Wait a second, let me come back, because Nick Gatrell asks, Daniel, will you be doing a video series on the Kravnik versus Deep Blue matches sometime in the future? And you did a great series on the Kasparov versus computer area. Thank you very much. Yes, I will be continuing my exploration of Kasparov's battles against computers, and I've done the 1996 match, but I hope in the future to do the 1997 match as well. It's just a case of finding the time. There are so many tournaments going on that I want to cover, and other topics as well, that I simply haven't found the time, because I want to do a good job on it, and it'll involve a lot of time. Maybe I should do some crowdfund the Kasparov versus Deep Blue 97 match. Maybe that would be an incentive for me to actually get it done. But yeah, it's on my list basically, and other people have suggested it. Let me see. David Ridinger asks, what's your opinion of the fried liver attack for lower rated? Well, if you want to play it, it's great fun, but you need to be tactically aware. Again, the fried liver is one of those openings. Let me just set this up. Just a moment. Just bear with me while I switch. So coming back to this position. So this is the fried liver. Tactically very, very sharp. Forcing variation. If you play this, then you have to know it extremely well. And now bishop e2, one can also play bishop d3. This is possible. All these moves are possible. Bishop d7 is not such a stupid move, by the way, for black. If you play this, you have to know it extremely well. That's all. So it's whether you have the time to research this. If you play this without researching it properly, well, that's kind of you're playing roulette, basically, Russian roulette. So it's up to you whether you want to do that. Kamal Parser says he likes queen f3. Yes, you can play queen f3 as well in this position. That's, again, it's kind of wacky. But it's all a bit of a gamble. It's up to you whether you want to do that. Let me just switch back again, 1 second. And take another couple of questions. Douglas Squirrel says, didn't you write a book on Kasparov versus Deep Blue? I remember reading it and enjoying it very much. Yeah, I have written a book on Deep Blue. Wait a second. Of course, I can't find it. Where is it? I can't find it. I was hoping to find it. It's in one of my bookshelves over here somewhere, but I can't see it. Yes, I did write a book on the match. I was present at the match in New York in '97. I wrote a book on it, It was an extraordinary occasion. It really was. So yes, I can actually speak as an eyewitness to this match. And I was also interviewed Kasparov in the middle of the match. And I knew the Deep Blue team as well. So I think I was quite, though I say it myself, I think I was reasonably well placed. Tim Wall asks, Daniel, my presentation skills on TV. Did you have any training before you presented the 93 short Kasparov World Championship match? No, I had no training at all. There you go. David Ottolina asks, Daniel, I've been following your channel since ages and never seen one of your past games. It would be nice to see one. Yeah, do you know what? I kind of shy away from looking at my own games. I'd rather not do it. I might one day, but there you go. Fabiano Biancalana asks, Daniel, how many chess books do you own and which books helped you become your grandmaster? I have no idea how many chess books I own. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I have bookshelves around, you can't see in the room, but all around here with so many books. And yeah, I like that. Okay, we've got a question about the World Championship. Okay. I have indeed followed the debate about the World Championship. You can see my views on chessbase.com where there's an article about it. Basically, I thought this was a fantastic World Championship match. And I find it very frustrating that at every classical World Championship match, you get these people kind of saying, oh, it's really boring. Oh, God, there are too many draws. This is in the nature of a one-on-one World Championship match, going right back to Ali King Capablanca in 1927. So, you know, one has to expect this because people are going to play slightly risk-averse chess. They're going to play very solidly. I don't mind that. I mean, personally, I found the chess find the chess in these matches absolutely fascinating. If you follow them live, it's like they were walking a tightrope. It was fantastic entertainment. So, you know, what do you want from a sporting contest? You want it to be tense, you want it to be close, and you want to, hopefully, you know, a dramatic finish. Well, that's exactly what we had. I think a 12-game match is fine. And to finish with a rapid, you've got to have a tiebreak at some point. Why not? I had no problem with that at all. It was a brilliant match and got amazing publicity. I think they got it about right. Lengthening the number of games doesn't affect the match at all. So, for example, Kasparov and Kramnik played 16 games. Well, they had lots of boring draws. Boring draws in inverted commas. I mean, I could quote lots of other matches. You know, Kasparov Anand 1995. That's a 20-game match. It didn't make it any more interesting. Most matches in the World Championship have actually been decided by game 12, just going back in history. So I think they've got it about right. Trondana Arsdal, what about more games in the World Championship? No, I've just dealt with that. 12 is enough. First to 3, 4, 5 wins. No, the matches just go on forever. I think they've got it right. I think the format is fine. Alex McLeod asks, what's the difference between a practical line and a winning line? When do you decide to go for a practical line rather than try harder? That's a good question. There was some Russian trainer who said it's better to head for an endgame 2 pawns up than to force a mate in 12 or something like that. basically, I think that's the kind of thing you're talking about. Basically, if you waste too much time calculating intricate variations, even if you believe it's a win, then you can use up all your time. It's easy to make a mistake in calculation. Whereas if you see a safe way to, for instance, head for an endgame where you're 2 pawns up, where it's a trivial win with some technique, then it's far better to do that. So I think that's what you mean by this debate between a practical line and a winning line. You've just got to judge that, basically. Nathan JSWT asks, do you think Carlsen and Karyakin will be the next great rivalry in chess like the 2Ks? Absolutely not. I think Karyakin has had his moment. And I think for the next, we're going to get a different challenger. One of this, Caruana, So, Kramnik, Giri, Ronian, I think they have a far better chance of coming through than Karyakin. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there. I can see my hour is up, but what I will do is I'm going to finish with one more position. I can see I've got lots of questions here. I would like to answer more. Let me finish with, let me pick a position. Just 1 second, folks. No, not this one. Oh, this is fun. Okay, just bear with me a second, guys, while I just switch to the board. If I can get to it, just one moment. Here we go. Okay, I'm just switching to the chessboard now. This was a game that was played recently in the German Bundesliga, and I'm going to put the game in context. I really like the way that Black played this. This was Jan Smeets playing Black, who is a Dutch grandmaster, playing Christian Schramm, who I assume is a German player. And this variation with bishop c4 is sharp, but basically shouldn't present Black with any difficulties. And this variation with knight d7, c5 is one of my favorites with Black. It's very reliable. I'm going to reach the critical position, but in a second. But I'm just going to put it in context. So Black is doing all the usual stuff, getting nice counterplay with his b pawn, and plays e5, forcing the knight back to this poor square. And now it's time to rock and roll on the c file. Here we go. Mate threatened, and this White played king b1, allowing queen c2, but then the king is going to pop up here. But Black first played d5. This is very clever. And he took on e4, and now rook e1. Okay, so here's my question for you. What did Black now play? Tim Wall says, Sports Direct mug. No, Daniel, they're a horrible employer. Would I agree? I do agree. In fact, I mentioned it earlier. You must have come late because I discussed that earlier. Yes, a horrible employer. I completely agree. But hey, the mug was free. Yes, well done, Frank van Tellingen and Mehmet Ali Kuseri. Queen c2, here we go. And if king a2, then queen takes b3 check is curtains. That's the end of that. A beautiful Najdorf, and White got his just desserts. Okay, listen, I'm going to switch out. So just bear with me. There we go. Excellent. Listen, folks, I'm sorry I didn't get to all your questions. There were so many, but I think I preferred this time to have a little bit more chess balance in the Hangout. So thanks everyone for joining me. I just want to repeat, this Hangout, or these monthly Hangouts, are only possible because of the contributions by my patrons on patreon.com. It's a kind of crowdfunding thing, really. So if you want to support these Hangouts, I'd be really grateful. There are two of us behind this. There's me, and I have my techie assistant, Pascal, who some of you might know. So there's two of us working this channel together. So if you could contribute on patreon.com, Powerplay Chess, patreon.com and Powerplay Chess, then we'd be really grateful, and we'd be able to do more programs, more videos, and develop the channel. So thanks everyone for taking part. Thanks for watching, and look out for more reports on the London Chess Classic. It's going to be a fascinating last 4 rounds, and so far it's been a really great tournament. See you soon. Bye now.